Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Friday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all listeners to Friday, where "but it's Friday" is a valid excuse for anything on this day.
That's fantastic. I'm going to start using that. But it's Friday.
Please don't.
Gotta take care of the kid, but it's Friday. This can work for everything. I agree with this. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, let's jump right into the stories while enjoying my morning kepi brew.
Oh, do you know what you're going to drink?
No, because you didn't tell me.
Because I didn't tell you.
Oh, what is it?
It is black currant with some rose hips.
Ooh.
So the black currant actually gives it a fruity taste, and the rose hips gives it a floral scent.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
I know. I'm an expert at this stuff.
Got that dragon fruit stuff I really like.
For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for asking my stepkid to be nice to my own kids? So I, 34 female, got married a year ago to who we'll call Ryan, 44 male. Ryan and I were together for 2 years prior to getting married. We both knew about each other's children. I have a pair of twins and an older child, 5 female and male, 8 male. And he has 2 kids, one living with their mother, 15 male, and one living with us, 14 female, who we'll call Anna. Anna came to live with us because she no longer wanted to deal with her mother. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I don't expect her to tell me any more than that. Her father and I discussed the situation, and I do not tell her what to do or treat her as my own child. But ever since her moving in a year ago, things haven't been super fair to my children, nor has she been nice to them. If needed, I'll provide a few examples, but I'm trying to stay under the word count. Most recently, she absolutely refuses to let them play anything on the PlayStation and has been doing so since last year. Ryan bought her a PS5 for Christmas, but when setting it up, they decided that her PS4 was better and sold the PS5. So she decided to put that money aside and save up. Now, my children can't use the PS5 because it's sold, and they can't use the PS4 because she refuses to let them after one incident. I did confront Ryan about this, but he argued that I said he shouldn't get them anything tech-wise, and that the PS5 wasn't a gift for them anyway. He didn't decide what to do with it. I accepted that argument. Now, I've been asking her to be nice and let my kids have a turn on the PS4 when she's not using it, which she doesn't do much. She only plays for an hour after school on Wednesdays, weekends, and whenever she has friends over. She said no time and time again. A few of those times her reasoning changed from "what if it happens again" to "my PlayStation's in my room, I don't want them in there" to "if they really want to play, you should buy them their own." And while that sounds like a great solution, I don't see the point in buying a whole new one when there is already one they can use. So I asked her father about it, and he said that I need her permission since it was a gift to her and her things aren't his to have a say over. So after trying time and time again, I gave up. But then she and her girlfriend went out yesterday to get coffee and some books. She wasn't here, so I thought it'd be fine to let my kids play, since it couldn't bother her since she wasn't even in her room, and my kids swore he wouldn't do what he did last time. It was going great until 4 p.m., and I heard my kids crying as well as screaming. I went upstairs to check, and sure enough, Anna threw them out and was yelling at them. I told her to talk to them calmly, then she screamed at me as well. Nothing happened this time, and nothing was broken. I personally think she overreacted, but Ryan still hasn't talked to me, and neither has Anna. My friends agree with me though, but now I'm not so sure. Am I the a-hole?
Yep. This is an easy one to start off Friday with. You're a giant a-hole, stepmom. You crossed some boundaries there. I understand having the kids wanting to play a console and all of that stuff. Couple things though on this story. That console was bought for that child, and it is in that child's room. Those are the boundaries that have been set forth that you crossed. If you really wanted your kids to have a console, you could have definitely bought another one and put it in the common space, in the living room or where have you, or gaming room. But yeah, you crossed a lot of boundaries with that one. Now, she's 15, her yelling at her siblings, step siblings, that wasn't a great thing, but she's 15. We'll say that again. She didn't like that. She came in her room and her younger siblings were in there in her room. If you know anything about teenagers, the last thing they want is for someone else in their room without their permission when they're not there.
Especially siblings.
It is a sacred room. That's just how it works. If you want to teach them how to respect other people's spaces, you also too have to respect their space. So yeah, you're really a giant a-hole in like every respect. You understood what the game was, and yet you still played it the way you wanted to. No wonder your husband and your stepdaughter are like exiling you to the island that you've created. Now, I don't agree with the husband not talking to you. This is something you guys both definitely need to start communicating on. But yeah, you're definitely the a-hole, Opie.
Well,
take this L.
Yes. And she did take the L inside of the comments. The consensus is that she's definitely the a-hole. And on top of that, let me go ahead and read our top commenter on what their perspective is on this. They said, "You're the a-hole. I speak as a former step-parent and stepchild. You crossed major boundaries by letting them in her room without permission. It's her room and her game system. She doesn't have to share, and especially not with small children. Buy them their own system and respect your stepdaughter's space and possessions." Now, the thing that had me curious throughout all of this,
what did the kid do?
What is this incident?
That's what I wanted to ask.
And clearly, it's bad enough to where our poster isn't talking about it at all.
Interesting. So that's the one thing they left out of everything.
Correct. They just call it the incident.
The incident.
Or the incident didn't happen again. So I'm wondering if there was something that actually forced them to sell that PS5 rather than her go ahead and say, I'm fine with having the PS4, right? Those are those little things that for me kept popping up. What child would really downgrade themselves from a PS4?
That was another thing.
Or from a PS5
for a 5 to a 4 and say this will be fine.
There's
it's interesting.
Nobody that would do that.
But she never wanted to explain this.
No.
See, that's missing a huge part of the story, which I think if you leave stuff out that is relevant, then you know people are going to call you the a-hole.
Oh, definitely.
Like instantly know, like, well, if I tell them this, then the story is moot at this point.
But in this case, I think a lot of commenters sniffed that out.
Man, bad stepmom. Hopefully she learned though. We'll be hearing about this in like 5 years. Am I the a-hole? My stepmom did this to me when I was 15. The continuation of the story. I'm not inviting her to my wedding. Should I though? Am I the a-hole? Ready to hear about what happened to my PS5?
That would be serendipitous if that were to happen.
Who knows?
Well, let's go on to our next story and see what's happening with our next family. Am I the a-hole for not paying for my sister's vacation because she won't agree to babysit? My 32 male family is planning a vacation for this summer. Both my parents, my older brother, and my sister-in-law, my younger sister Camila, 22 female, and my husband, my 2 kids, 10 female and 8 male, and I are all planning to go.
It's a lot of people.
A lot of people. We were planning to stay in a resort for 2 weeks. This will obviously be a bit expensive, at least $2,000 United States dollars per person, and that is an enormous amount of money in my currency. Camila is in her last semester of university and will start a full-time job on August. Right now, she's not working and lives with my parents, not passing judgment on her for being unemployed because my brother and I went through the same at her age. Camila called me last week to ask if we could pay for her ticket and accommodation. My parents would pay for food and activities. My husband and I comfortably afford our family, but adding Camila would put financial pressure on us. I told her that I would discuss it with my husband and then I would call her. So my husband and I agreed that we would be willing to pay for her if she would babysit our children on certain occasions. Of course, not every day and without notice, but at least twice a week for 2 hours for 2 months. She would basically be a replacement for our current babysitter. Anyway, I texted her basically saying what I just wrote, and she replied, absolutely not. So I called her to ask why she was so against this arrangement, which I think benefits both of us. She gets to go on vacation, and we have a babysitter we trust and don't spend more than our monthly budget. Camila said that we were manipulating her into doing unpaid labor to us and forcing her to say yes because neither our brother or parents could afford to pay for her. She also said that she's way too busy with her last semester of uni and finals. I told her that she could do all of her school stuff in our house. My children are very well behaved and need very little supervision, but she still said that she wouldn't do it. So I then told her that I was very sorry, but if she didn't accept, then we couldn't pay for her to go on the vacation. So now she's incredibly mad at me. But now my mom is also angry with me because she wants to have a family vacation and she knows my husband and I do have the money to pay for Camila, and family helps family, which I agree with, but I believe that help must be reciprocal. And right now, Camila is not reciprocating that help. My brother and dad just want to settle this down. They are not taking sides. Am I the a-hole?
Nope. Man, Camila can figure out a way to pay for the vacation herself, or she ain't going on vacation. How big of a wiener jacket are you where you're having someone pay for your vacation in your 20s, and then when they say, definitely, we'll help you out, but hey, you got to help us out on the back end over here with the kids for 2 days out of every week for 2 months.
Correct.
For 2 hours. Got the 222 thing going on. How is that unreasonable?
It's not.
In any shape or form. No freaking way. What's wrong with you? What? Like, people are paying for your vacation. What am I missing? Like, that's thousands of dollars. And not only that, okay? They have 2 kids of their own.
Correct.
That they're also paying for to go on this trip. There's 4 people. And you're being selfish enough to say, add a 5th adult to what we're paying for that vacation. Are you high? The mother says family helps family. You're right. Family does help family. So why does that exclude Camila from watching the kids? What? No, absolutely not. You're not the a-hole. Do not let them guilt you into paying for your adult sister's vacation. If she doesn't have enough time to watch the kids, especially when you point it out, your kids are well behaved. So hey, you get to learn a tough lesson. Either you watch the kids and help them out like they're helping you out, or you don't go on vacation with them. That sucks. Grow up.
Well, the consensus is that our poster is not the a-hole. In fact, let me go ahead and break it down to you thanks to a nice commenter in the Reddit and tell you how much it is that essentially she'd be paid an hour. So for 4 hours per week for 8 weeks, that's 32 hours of work. For $2,000, that's essentially $62.50 per hour. That's crazy. And the fact that she won't be okay with it is even crazier in my book.
She clearly doesn't know or understand how economics work yet. I understand she's still in university, is what they said. So she's got a really weird view on life and doesn't respect the value of a dollar yet, but she's going to come to it at some point.
I don't get where she says it's unpaid labor when technically
they're
the
paying
paid
for your
part
vacation.
is the vacation.
Like, that's what I'm not getting. What are you talking about? Like I said, grow up.
Well, so let's go ahead and go into our next story and see what's happening with this emergency. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit for my sister despite brother-in-law having a family emergency? I, 37 male, and my wife, 33 female, have no children. We live in a small 2-bedroom house with the second bedroom converted into a game room/office for us. My sister, 32 female, and brother-in-law, 35 male, have 2 kids, nephew, 8 male, and niece, 9 female. Both are great kids, love them, and would do anything for them. We've babysat for my sis and brother-in-law before and had no issues until recently. On April 7th, Good Friday, brother-in-law got a call that his sister, 28 female, was in a near-fatal car accident along with 2 of her friends. She had to be airlifted to the hospital. They weren't sure if she was going to make it, so family members were being called in to say goodbye and support the rest of the family. This happened across the state we lived in. Sis texted me around 10:40-ish that night, asking if I was awake, then called to explain the situation. She then asked if I would babysit the kids over Easter weekend while they traveled across state to be with brother-in-law's family. I told her no, I couldn't. I work in steel manufacturing plant. She knows this, on a rotary shift, and after Easter on Monday, I would be starting the overnight shifts. I told her that I was going to sleep during the day on Saturday and Sunday to get accustomed to being on third shift. When she asked if my wife would be willing, I again told her no, since she's going to be doing Easter stuff with her side of the family. When she asked why I couldn't sleep in on Sunday, or why couldn't my wife take the kids with her to the Easter stuff, I snapped back at her that I gave her 3 reasons why. That one, I wanted the weekend to adjust my shift and sleeping schedules and couldn't do that in one day. 2, my wife wanted to spend Easter with her side of the family. And finally, that no is a complete sentence and that's final. She got pissed, said we'll talk later, and hung up. They took the kids, and on the way, Sis texted me that I'm an a-hole for not taking their tragedy to heart, for not helping them in their time of need, that it wouldn't have killed me or my wife to miss a day of sleep or take the kids with her. And brother-in-law is pissed at us. He prays we don't have an emergency and need him because he'll say no and he'll want to sleep in. I haven't responded and we're currently not speaking to each other. Going to add, when Sis called, my wife was asleep to get up early in the morning to do her family things. Our parents live in another state. Our other brother lives in another country. I don't know why she didn't call any of their friends when I refused. So am I the a-hole for not babysitting my sis's kids in their time of need?
Okay, this is a spousal meatball because this is family. There's a tragedy that happened. It's last minute. It also happens to fall on Good Friday, leading into Easter weekend. So it's like peak just, there's a reason why, and I'll go to the back end of his questioning. He goes, why couldn't they have asked their friends? Because it's Good Friday leading into Easter weekend. Everyone has plans. That's just how it works. You're booked up with family. You're doing other things. So you don't normally go to friends for that. You go to family in those pinches. I guess when we're talking about this story, because it is a tough one, OP's relatives did ask for him in a time of need to help. He came up with a bunch of no's, and then he wasn't going to hear about it any other way. It sounds like he wasn't willing to work and help them at all, even a little bit. I do believe OP is the a-hole for not trying to make it all work, but I just kind of wonder why the parents wouldn't have had the kids come along. I understand shielding kids, they're 8 and 9, so they are young, but if this was someone important to their life, I think having closure and being able to say goodbye is also important. But that would be my only question as to why they went out of their way, especially because they're not flying in a plane. They're driving. It's in-state. You're talking about 2-3 hour, 4 hour maybe, depending on how big the state was, of inconvenience. You were going there anyway. I do believe that you are the a-hole for not trying to make it work, because they are right. When it does come down to it, you've got to be able to rely, even if it is a tight situation, you got to be able to rely on family. Now you've taught them that obviously you're not someone that they're going to rely on. And now if something does happen to you in your life or your wife, you've clearly cut off that limb from your guys' family. They're not going to help you. So there's a lot of hurt feelings, and I don't think that's going away.
Well, let me go ahead and give you the consensus. So it really was split between not the a-hole and the a-hole, but it kind of leaned more towards the a-hole. And let me provide first the perspective of the not the a-hole. The not the a-hole is because, like you said, a lot of people put that, would these children not want to see their aunt one last time if that's the last time that they're going to see them? Unfortunately, we don't know how close that relationship is.
Sure.
To even say, yes, for all we know, these kids might be seeing a person that they might have seen once or twice in their entire lives, and therefore saying goodbye to somebody that's dying, that to them means nothing.
Yeah.
So now comes the other side on why it is that the consensus was that they are the a-hole. Because like I said, the verdict is very split here. The problem stems with him saying that he would do anything for them. It starts off with his insert on him saying both are great kids, love them, and would do anything for them. But a lot of the commenters say, clearly that's not the case.
This was anything.
You wouldn't do anything, or you would do everything except. You put these stipulations on. Sure, things get difficult, and a lot of people do give it to him that his job is hard, and he could get into an accident if he doesn't have the proper rest. But had he reached out to his work? He never tried that. He never actually spoke to his wife. He just automatically said his wife is going to see her family, and essentially almost put sort of a boundary, a weird boundary there.
I feel like his wife may not like his family. It's kind of what that feels like. Is because she would have been more than okay with going, yeah, I'll take the kids. We can go celebrate Easter with them. Like, why wouldn't you add kids to the equation? They're kids. It's Easter. Like, that's kind of weird that he wouldn't even go to that. So almost smacks to there being already a little issue between their family.
Possibly. Either way, a lot of commenters say, you burned your bridge.
Oh, it's gone. Like, he even says it. He's like, I hope nothing befalls you because I'm not going to be there to help.
So let's go on to our next story and check this thing out with dogs.
Rough.
Am I the a-hole for telling him if he doesn't stop forcing his dog on me, then his dog will not be welcome in my home? 26 female. I will start off by saying that I am not a dog person, or an untrained dog person is more like it. I have a firm belief that if you, as a dog owner, fail to train your dog anything other than fetch and give me your paw type shit, you shouldn't have a dog, period. With that said, I also never saw myself having a dog. It wasn't really something I wanted. My boyfriend of 3 years just basically inherited a dog about a year ago. His aunt passed on, and his family didn't want the dog, so he took her. He was fully aware of my stance on dogs, because roughly 5 months prior to that, he was begging me to get a puppy with him, and I told him no. I'm way too busy with work in med school, but this is his dog now, and I don't really mind. Him and I have no plans of moving in together anytime soon anyways. But here's my problem. He comes here usually every other weekend, sometimes more, and he asked if he could bring his dog with him, obviously. I was very vocal about yes, she can come here, but do not push the dog on me. I have boundaries. I do not want a dog in my face. She is a small dog, so she is constantly bashing her face off yours or digs/nips your face to get your attention and has drawn blood multiple times. On my clothing, I work at a hospital, so it's unsanitary, jumping on me, etc. If I'm not in scrubs, it's one thing, but if I am, hard no. He was really good about it at first, but now he is just a fucking dick. Doesn't understand why I don't want this dog jumping on me or in my face. Constantly saying I'm being mean to his dog because I refuse to pet her every 5 seconds, which leads her to whining because he has not trained her to have boundaries at all and her anxiety is fucked because of it. Doesn't understand why I do not want to spend every second of my life with a dog. Literally every second. Even if I'm on my laptop doing schoolwork, he thinks I should be giving this dog attention. So last night, I had just gotten ready for work and he was at my house with the dog. He kept saying, "Get her," to the dog, telling her to get to me with my fucking scrubs on. So I told him to cut the shit. I'm in my scrubs. Do not tell this dog to jump on me. Period. I don't like jumping regardless, but definitely do not do this when I'm wearing my scrubs. He said it several more times until I finally snapped and called him a disrespectful dickhead. He goes silent. 20 minutes later, he says he is going to drive me to work in my car because of the black ice. My brakes are messed up. And he was going to catch the bus home. On our way to my work, the dog starts climbing up onto the center console in the front seat. I tell her no. My boyfriend then says, "She does this when you aren't in the car. She just leans on me and looks out the window. Watch her, it's funny." I told him no. I have my f***ing scrubs on once again, and I do not want a dog climbing on me and getting dog hair on me when I have to go into a sanitary environment at a hospital. He then tells me I'm making a huge deal out of nothing despite me constantly stating what my boundaries are. And then he told me I just hate the dog, which at this point I admittedly am starting to because of him. So I told him if he didn't stop forcing this dog on me, which is leading me to wanting absolutely nothing to do with this animal, she will not be allowed at my house at all under any circumstances. He is saying I am an a-hole because she's just a dog, and I'm apparently overreacting about it and being mean. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, I am a surgeon's assistant, so yes, it is unsanitary. Having an overwhelming amount of dog hair on my scrubs while I'm in an airtight, clean room for a surgery is 100% unsanitary. Last night was the first ever time that dog was in my car, so no, my car isn't already full of dog hair. I asked him to leave the dog in the kennel last night so she wouldn't be in my car, and he refused, stating she would get lonely by herself. Weird how all the people who are just like my boyfriend and have no boundaries for training of their animals are coming out in the post. I'm allowed to have boundaries, full stop. Edited to add, scrub issue. Our hospital does not have a locker room, and we do not even have access to our break room currently due to COVID regulations. We even have to take our breaks in our vehicle. Changing at work is not an option as it should be. Am I the a-hole?
Okay, so this is a little bit of an older story.
It is approximately a year old.
Okay, because we're no longer in those type of restrictions, but it's interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and strip the fact that it's a dog away from the story, because she is correct. This all falls on one thing. She set her boundaries. She said, I don't like dogs. She confirms this a lot. And you and I love our dogs. But if someone was to force their dog on me the way he is forcing his dog on her, even I would say, this is enough. There is a boundary that got pushed. She says it. She laid the law down. She even was being nice enough, though, by letting him bring the dog into the home, even though he knows she wants nothing to do with him. So they've been together 3 years. So she obviously loves him enough to put up with the antics, and still is going, even though he's pushing beyond these boundaries, she's still going, I'm not going to allow the dog She's not saying, I'm going to go ahead and break up with him if he keeps doing this. He's taking something that he deems is small as pushing the dog onto her and forcing her to change her beliefs and wants into what he wants. I would be very afraid that that's not where the bus is going to stop on this trip for her. I would take this as a sign. He's not willing to see that you have boundaries. You're definitely not the a-hole in my opinion.
So the consensus is that she's not the a-hole. And there were probably a handful of people who essentially called her a prude of sorts.
You hate this dog, so you hate everyone.
Yeah. Now, there are actually a lot of people who love animals, especially dogs, that came out and said, look, she put her boundaries.
Yep.
She has every right. And you and I are perfect examples of that. We love our animals. But if somebody were uncomfortable with our animals, we wouldn't force that issue.
Yep.
They are our animals and we're allowed to love them. It doesn't mean the whole world is allowed to love them. We even have a cat that's essentially pretty mean to other people, but absolutely loves me.
Our local vet knows her as Voldemort.
Oh, yes. She's one of those cats where she pets you, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So I can understand her frustration because it's not her animal. And then on top of that, she's saying how she needs to be maintained clean and sanitary for her job. Well, let's go ahead and go to our next story concerning some stolen valor.
Oh boy.
For our next story, am I the a-hole for falsely accusing a veteran of stolen valor when she couldn't give any details about her service? I, 34 male, served as a captain in the Marine Corps. I have left the service, and right now I am doing an MBA. One of my classmates, 31 female, who we'll call Jay, is very gentle, very soft-spoken, and unassuming. Jay and I were working together on a case study once, and I started opening up to her about my military service and all the lessons that I've learned from the Corps. Jay enthusiastically told me, "That's so cool. I was a surface warfare officer in the Navy." I immediately felt suspicious about this claim. As I said, Jay is very demure, and she doesn't really have the bravado that is required in the military environment. At least, I feel a certain amount of bravado is required. I still humored her and began asking about the details of her military experience, where she deployed, what courses she went through, what ship she served on, etc., etc. Suddenly, Jay got all tight-lipped, and she couldn't say anything specific about military life. She kept making excuses about the lines of, "It just wasn't a good period in my life and I'd rather not talk about it." Eventually, I felt like I had done enough snooping around, and I bluntly told her that she was bullshitting and that I'd rather not work with a phony. I talked about this experience with my friend M at our school's veterans organization. I told M to be wary of anything Jay says. M responded by telling me that Jay did serve. He's seen her paperwork and ID and everything, and that in fact, one of her MBA recommendation letters was written by a retired Rear Admiral 08, who held Jay in high regard. Whoops. The next time I met Jay, before our class started, I tried to act chummy towards her and make up for accusing her of being a liar. She laughed in my face and told me to pound sand, Poolie. And for those of you who don't know, yes, she was being derisive here. Am I the a-hole?
I'll start this off. Thank you for your service, both you and Jay. The military in the United States is a little different. It is a voluntary thing you go into, so I do appreciate you for doing it. That being said, you are 100% the a-hole in this situation. There are a lot of people. My family is full of veterans, full of them. Voyse's father served as well.
Yes, my father served in the Navy.
When you come around these people and you get to know them, the military service is not the only thing they are. They have their own personalities. They are the own people. This bravado you speak of, I understand it, but that doesn't mean that everyone is made and cut from the same cloth. There are some people that you will bump into that look and sound like they have never served a day in their life, but they have, because it takes all creed and color and backgrounds to be in the military. That's just what it is. That's the melting pot that is America. So you're definitely wrong for assuming and then telling her to her face. If she didn't want to disclose her history in the military, there's probably a good reason for it. Just because your experiences were good and great and you didn't have any trauma doesn't mean that she didn't. There's a lot of people that you'll bump into in life. You may not know they ever served a day in their life because they don't talk about it because it isn't a good time period in their lives. But you should have respected that at the door, that's what she told you. Instead of making it about, well, we're not going to measure our dicks. You obviously haven't served. You should have been like, I respect you. Thank you. Let's get on with the rest of our life because it doesn't define you. And I think that's when people get in little hiccups in life, is when that's their only personality trait, is that this bravado has to be this certain way. There are meek people that have hearts of lions. And I'm sure you just learned that because this woman, I think you said it, a rear admiral was in her paperwork.
Yes.
No, you got clowned. Take the L. Learn from it.
Well, the consensus definitely was he is the a-hole all across the board. And he sort of has become a budding joke in the comment section. There's actually one that made me chuckle, which was, I feel like OP tells people he's military when they don't even ask.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm OP. I was captain in the Marines. Sir, this is McDonald's. I just want to take your order.
It's become his whole personality trait. Yeah.
Another person said they feel like he's the type of person that would say, "You're welcome for my service."
Yeah.
Or, "I'm veteran Mike. Nice to meet me." It goes on and on. While we, of course, do appreciate your service, your personality and
judgment. He's a judgmental person, and that sucks.
Well, let's go ahead and move away from this story, and let's go on to our last story of the day. Am I the a-hole for telling my best friend his girlfriend is disgusting?
It's Friday.
I, 22 female, have been friends with Danny, 22 male, since high school, and he recently moved in with his current girlfriend, Lucy, 22 female. They had a housewarming party on Friday, and Lucy spent most of the night dancing with her own friends who are very like her, excitable, extroverted, and dragging Danny away from his conversations with us, his friends, to dance even though he's more like us, introverted, not party animals. Later, Danny was being quiet, so I asked if he was okay, and he said just tired, but he just kept watching Lucy dancing, and then said something in her ear the next time she came over, and she just shook her head and laughed at him. After she went back to her friends, I asked if it was bothering him how she was behaving, and he asked me to explain. I mentioned the attention-seeking dancing and the fact that she was wearing something really revealing, even though other guys were at this party. Danny said it didn't bother him, then sat with a moody face. At the end of the night, Lucy sat down with us and started chatting nonstop about how amazing the party has been. I pointed out jokingly, Danny obviously wasn't enjoying himself since he looked miserable, and Danny told her I was worried he was jealous because of her outfit. Lucy ruffled his hair, which he hates, and said he was quiet because he loved her outfit so much he couldn't wait for us all to leave so he could drag her to bed. I thought that was completely inappropriate and said to Danny in that case I'd leave if she was going to be disgusting, and Lucy just laughed at me, so I did leave. Today, Danny has messaged me saying Lucy wants an apology before I'm allowed back at their home. But when I asked if Lucy will apologize for making me uncomfortable, he said no, she doesn't have anything to be sorry about. I was genuinely only worried about my friend, but admit I could have left without calling her disgusting, so am I the a-hole?
Okay. Spasmidbal. This person is terrible. You're a judgmental clown. From start to finish of this post, you tried to start stuff that didn't exist. Your friend was okay with his girlfriend being who she wanted to be. That's what I heard. And then you, as the basement-dwelling troll that you are, tried to start something that didn't exist. I hope that your friend sees this post, and I hope that all of Reddit came clowning down upon you because you're a gigantic a-hole. That makes no sense. You're the type of person that everyone needs to avoid. I almost feel like OP wants to get with her friend. Why would you go out of your way to point out someone's flaws and then start stuff the way she did?
Or dancing and quote-unquote revealing outfit.
Yeah, like what? And then when you got in the middle of their business, she was just trying to quell the storm, and then you had to take it any other way than that. You should have just learned from the first approach that they're not dealing with your crap. I think the only disgusting human here is you. And I hope that this friend sees that and walks away from you. Fix yourself. I'm shocked at this because at the beginning it starts off with like fun little, we're at this party, but then when you start actually listening to the story, I'm actually listening to this fairy tale through the bad guy's eyes. Through the villain's perspective.
Too happy.
Yeah, I'm like, what's happening right now? So yeah, you're the a-hole, OP. You need to go like grow up and really do some self-assessment going forward with your life. I hope that Reddit gave you some perspective there.
Well, let me give you the consensus. Overwhelmingly the a-hole.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they felt the need to go ahead and edit to add something. So let me go ahead and read this to you now.
I'm ready.
To clarify, I didn't say the comment about her clothes directly to Lucy. I asked Danny once, then never mentioned it again. I asked him because I know in the past he said anything overly sexual makes him uncomfortable. He's not the kind of guy who makes innuendos or anything. Also, I'm in no way jealous of Lucy. She's the opposite of how I'd want to be, which is fine. People can be who they want. And Danny and I already tried dating years ago, but the spark wasn't there. And it was uncomfortable after we tried being intimate. And we both agreed we were better as completely platonic friends.
I doubt that. I think Danny was the one that decided those things from the way you make it sound.
I think so too. I think she's possibly just really awkward when it comes to being intimate. But
she shouldn't be throwing that on other people just because you have those problems.
When you have those types of crutches as a person, generally you try and project. Sure. You feel like other people should also be uncomfortable because it makes them uncomfortable. I think that's a bad way to view it. Just because I'm uncomfortable with showing a lot of skin doesn't mean the next person has to be uncomfortable with that. But I also need to understand that if they're comfortable in their own skin and revealing however much skin or leg or arm or
at a party in public that you got invited to,
that it's not my place to go ahead and be uncomfortable with it. And the thing is, for me, during this whole story that I was listening to, I see Danny and she's trying to put what mood he's in. He's in a sour mood. Well, if Danny's an introverted person, a lot of introverted people who enjoy extroverted people tend to just like to be there and watch and just enjoy the feelings that they get from just watching their partner. They don't feel like they have to be in the center.
Sure.
Because for them, their center is their partner. And it's as simple as that.
Well, how do we know that
I don't see that as being moody.
How do we know that she didn't put him in that mood by whispering in his ear about all this stuff?
Oh yeah, like, aren't you uncomfortable because she's revealing so much skin in front of all these guys?
Look at all these guys. Look at her. Yeah, like I don't trust anything this clown has to say.
That's really conniving in my opinion.
She sounds like it.
But all of the Reddit commenters definitely pointed it out, and a lot of people sniffed out that there was something between the two of them even before she said it.
But you got some growing up to do, girl.
We'll never know. She deleted her account.
That makes sense. That follows about right, not being able to take criticism and grow from it. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
I'm going to leave you one last question. We always do it on Fridays. What's your weekend plans?
Ooh, we're going to do a dinner and a show. I can't wait.
Yes, we are. We're going to have a lot of fun this weekend. We look forward to hearing what you guys are doing. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.